welcome to Chef Pesto. Ready for another great video? Today we're going to make some pork chops with an apple and onion pan sauce. So let's get into it. So first we have some onions. You're gonna need some apples. I have a little bit of spices here. So what we have is salt, pepper, a little paprika, some onion powder, Italian seasoning, and some oregano. So we'll use those. We'll mix all these up in a second. You'll also need a little bit of oil, butter, some flour, and some beef stock, and we'll get to that. So first we'll start with apples. I have already half of them diced up, or sliced rather. So we'll slice up our apples there. All right, apples and pork go really, really well together. It's really, really great for around the holidays, fall season. Apples, delicious. In this case, we are using Golden Delicious apples. And then the onion, we just took off both sides of the onion and then we turned it so we can get some nice slices. Remember from the previous video, tucking in your finger so that you don't cut yourself. Going nice and slow, it's not about speed. All right, onions all sliced up, apples. You have your beautiful pork chops here. And so we have our seasoning mix. What we're gonna do is mix our seasoning here. And we're gonna season it on both sides. So kind of see it's all kind of mixed up there. All right, and then we're gonna sprinkle on both sides. And I chose to use bone-in pork chops today. I feel like it has a little more flavor to it. Kind of once all that flavor renders out of the bone. So I have one side seasoned. I'll flip them over. And we'll season the other side here. Really, really delicious seasoning. All right. And let's go to the stove. All right, guys, here we are at the stove. We have our pan going to medium heat. We are going to take enough oil, about 2 to 3 tablespoons, just to coat the bottom of the pan. Pork has a little bit of fat in it, so you don't need to do too much. You're gonna wait till it's nice and hot. What we want to do is get a really, really nice sear on this pork, so it keeps all the juices locked in and won't escape. Okay, once you start to see a little bit of waviness to it, you want to catch it before it starts smoking. We're going to get it nice and hot, make sure all the sides are coated. Now there may be a little bit of splatter, so be careful. I chose my extra long tongs for this. All right, so see it's nice and ready here. So I'm going to take these pork chops. You want to hear a nice sizzle sound. That way you know you have good heat going.
We need the butcher block. Yeah.
All right, so right now we're getting a lot of really, really good color on here. And what I tell a lot of people when they're trying to sear meat is don't touch it, just let it cook. You want to let that caramelization happen naturally. The heat's going to do its job to get a nice crust on there, get it nice and golden brown before we flip it over and do the other side. Usually it takes about 3 to 4 minutes for this pork. We have 1-inch cut pork chops. All right, so here we are 3 to 4 minutes later. We're gonna flip our pork. You see a nice golden brown on this pork here. Beautifully seared. Nice crust on there. You can almost hear the texture and the crispiness of it. So what we're going to do now is what I like to do is finish my meats in the oven. It keeps it juicy and a nice slow roasting. So I have the oven set at 350 degrees, and we're going to put this pan in the oven. It's an oven-safe pan for roughly 10 minutes. Like I said, it's a 1-inch pork chop. So we'll give it about 10 minutes. We'll pull it out. We'll then make a pan sauce, and then we'll finish the pork chops in that sauce to even bring more moisture into that pork so it's not dry. All right, see you soon. All right, guys, we're back. It's been about 10 minutes, so let's check out this pork. Oh, it already smells delicious. Oh, yeah, so right here it's cooked on both sides. You have a lot of juice in there, caramelization on both sides, so we can turn the oven off. We no longer need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pork out of this pan, because what happened is we seared this pork and we got so much delicious flavor in the bottom of this pan. So much flavor. We call that fond, F-O-N-D. Fond is the name for all the little tidbits, all this little caramelization that's on the bottom of the pan. That's all the flavor. So now we're going to start our pan sauce. So I'm going to keep the oil and all that flavor in there and start with our onion. And we're going to saute this for a little bit. I'm going on medium to medium-high heat. And be careful, the pan handle is still going to be very hot. So I'm using a towel in this instance, but you can use a hot pad. Any way that you do not burn yourself, because it'll still be very hot. I'm going to move it around to soak up all this delicious flavor. Right, so we're going to saute this for roughly about 2 minutes. Getting nice caramelization on there. The sweetness really plays well with the apples, and they're very tart. So it'll be a little bit of sweet, a little tart. The smokiness from the paprika will bring out so many different flavor levels. All right, now we are going to take our apples. We just have slices of apples in there. We're going to saute these for about another 2 minutes. We want to try to keep some of the apple pieces intact, so I don't want to saute them too long. Just get them nice and coated. Mix them really well with the onions. I'll add a little bit of salt and pepper in there, just for a little bit of flavor. That'll really, really help enhance those flavors. And all the while we're making the sauce, our pork is off to the side. It's resting. It's going to let that pork muscle kind of relax a little bit and let those juices flow back into the pork, so it stays nice and juicy and delicious with every bite. All right, so it's been about 2 minutes. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of butter to get that to start to melt. And what we're going to do in this pan sauce is we're going to add our flour right to these ingredients. So essentially you want to make a pan roux. Roux is simply just equal parts fat and flour. And you want to cook it down so you don't have really a starchy flour taste. So I added the 2 tablespoons of butter, melted that, and now I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of flour. Just sprinkle that on there. And then we're going to cook this for roughly a minute and a half. You don't want to go too long, but like I said, this is your thickener for your pan sauce. So we're going to mix this up, kind of let that flour cook out, and make sure it's not lumpy at all. See, you can already start to see that some of it, there's not a lot of juice left in here. The apples are still nice slices. They're not broken up. Maybe a few of them are. And it's nice with the caramelized onions in there. And then let this cook for about another minute. Once again, we are on medium-high heat. So once you let it cook for those couple of minutes, now we're going to take our beef stock here. That's about 1.5 cups. I'm going to start with only adding a little bit first. That way no lumps form in our flour. And we can always add more. It's harder to take it out or add extra thickener. So here we are. So we're going to deglaze. We're going to mix this up a little bit here. So you can see it's starting to thicken up already. Nice pan sauce there. See, it's already a little thick, so I'm going to add a little bit more beef stock here, about another 1/2 cup. Let that kind of work its magic. If you add the liquid too fast to the flour, it's not going to give the gluten enough time to thicken your sauce. So by the time you think your sauce is thick enough, it's going to be too thick once it starts to rest. So you want to make sure that you don't add your liquid too soon. See, it's still a little bit too thick here. So we want to reduce it a little bit to let those flavors kind of meld together. Alright, so we're going to add the last 1/2 cup of our beef stock. Going to move this all around. And we're looking really, really good already. You can always play with this recipe a little bit. You can add more onions. You can add more apples. If you like more apples and not a lot of onions. Some fresh herbs go a long way in this process if you want to kind of play around with some fresh thyme. So our sauce, you see, is nice. When you kind of scrape the bottom a little bit, it doesn't move too fast to the middle, so you know it's a really, really good consistency. So I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. We're going to add our pork back into the pan in this sauce, just to soak up a little bit of that flavor. And you can even add some of that pork juice to it too. That's all delicious flavor. And you're going to let this cook for about 2 minutes. Just kind of let everything come back up to temperature as the pork has been resting. It'll still be really, really warm, but you kind of want to bring it up and get it really nice and hot. Now that it's come back up to temperature for about a minute and a half, we're going to take our pork back out and we're going to go plate. See you there. Alright guys, here we are back at the plating station. So we have our pork chops. I've already placed the sauce into a smaller container so you don't have to bring the pan all the way over. You can set this right on the table if you're serving it family style. But I'm going to demonstrate just 2 pork chops plating today. You'd obviously place your side on there as well. So here we are. So we'll take a pork chop. And we'll go the other one, kind of diagonal on there. Then we'll take our sauce here. Place this apple and onion sauce right over the top. Not to cover too much of the pork chop. You made that beautiful sear on it. Just like so. And then if you want, you can take some of the sauce. Go right around the outside. It's almost like an apple and onion gravy. Getting nice and delicious over there. And there you are. This is your pork chop with an apple and onion gravy. Enjoy.
2, 3.
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you could, like, subscribe, comment down below if you want to see anything else. Check out my Instagram at Chef Pesto. Also, my Facebook, Chef Pesto. Leave a message. Let me know if you want to see anything cool, exciting, or if you would do anything differently. I'm always looking for more feedback, and we'll see you next time.